It is 9:12 on November 22nd, 2022, and I call to order the rental program special magistrate proceeding for this date. This is the morning session. I assume there's no afternoon session?
That's correct.
Good. My name is Robert Riggio. I am the special magistrate who will be hearing these cases this morning. Madam Clerk, are there any announcements?
Yes, sir. Page 5,
Page 5.
case number 15, RTL 08-22-160 at 506 North Street is in compliance 11/21/2022.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Thank you. The third item on the agenda are the October 25th, 2022 meeting minutes, and I've approved those with very minor change to them. And at this point, we now move on to the hearing of the cases, but before we do, we will need to swear in all of the city staff who will be providing testimony this morning.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Missing Cliff.
Okay. I'm going to take one case out of order. I see Miss Gow is here.
Number 2.
Oh, okay, that's fine. If you're ready and willing to wait, hopefully this will go quickly. Case number 1. And by the way, I will call the cases, and if you could then come forward if you are the respondent, and you'll be sworn in, and the city will present its case, and then you'll be provided with an opportunity to respond and provide any defenses or arguments you might have. Case number 1, RTL 11-22-197, Manuel Marquez, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 1327 Eugene Black Street. Mr. Marquez, there is no respondent present. Mr. Cole?
This case was opened on August 29th of 2022. They were first noticed on September 22nd of 2022 with a compliance date of October 6th by 2022. And as of last inspection on November 17th, they are not in compliance. My recommendation is a finding of non-compliance with compliance by the January cutoff.
Okay. Therefore, in case number 1, RTL 11-22-197, I find the respondent, Manuel Marquez, to be in non-compliance and order the case to come into compliance by, gotta get my date, is that January 18th?
Correct.
January 18th, 2023, or be returned to a hearing before the special magistrate on January 24th, 2023 for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Okay, we move to the continued cases. Case number 2, RTL 04-22-106, Advanced Minerals, Inc., trustee and 317 Fairview Avenue Land Trust, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 317 Fairview Avenue.
Could you state your name, please?
Sorry, Jessica Gow, Copco Law Firm, 149 South Woodward Avenue, Daytona Beach, Florida.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Ms. Tomango, can you present the city's case?
Yes, since the last hearing, I received a contact from Attorney Gao stating that they had a meeting scheduled with Planning and Zoning on November 17th regarding a review of condemned structure at the rear of the property and to review an approach to the zoning and land use for the residential unit. So the staff is requesting to amend to January cutoff to allow the process with Planning and Zoning to continue.
Okay.
Yep, and we're in
Yeah.
agreement with that. We'll keep Wanda updated as we go through. We're just trying to figure out exactly how to approach this site with them.
Okay. I have no problem with that. You've been keeping in contact and moving forward, so we're moving towards some finality at some point fairly soon, hopefully. So therefore, in case number 2, RTL 04-22-106, The respondent being Advanced Minerals, Inc., trustee in 317 Fairview Avenue Land Trust. I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondent until January 18th, 2023, to bring property into compliance or be returned to a proceeding for the magistrate on January 24th, 2023, for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. And I think I omitted to state the property address, 317 Fairview Avenue, for property at that address.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
and happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, happy
too.
Thanksgiving.
Case number 3, RTL 0722-144, Anna Rosa Randolph Revocable Trust, cite for failure to correct violations of city code at 125-127 Silver Beach Avenue.
Okay, since the last hearing, I did receive contact from the owner by email on November 16th stating that the contractor, Barker Construction, would be delivering materials and that work would commence for the retaining wall sometime this week. I did confirm that there's a permit on file for this project. Just in summary, all 4 rental units at the property have passed rental inspection. There was just that exterior retaining wall that needed to be repaired that they've been in the process of coordinating contractor and permits for. So I'm requesting to amend to the January cutoff to allow the times for the contractor to complete the repairs to the wall.
Okay. Therefore, in case number 3, RTL 0722-144, respondent being Anna Rosa Randolph Revocable Trust for property at 125-127 Silver Beach Avenue, I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondent until January 18th, 2023, to bring property in compliance or be returned to a proceeding for the special magistrate on January 24th, 2023, for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Case number 4, RTL 1022-194, BMS Holdings, LLC, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 336 Fulton Street. Is there anyone here on behalf of BMS Holdings? We have no respondent. Mr. Mango?
Okay, since the last hearing, I did receive contact from the owner, Mr. Spivey. He did complete a rental license application for this property. That rental license application remains in redevelopment review for approval. So I am requesting to amend to the January cutoff to allow the time for the application to be approved and for an inspection to be scheduled for the property.
Okay, well, therefore, in case number 4, RTL 1022-194, respondent being BMS Holdings, LLC, for property at 336 Fulton Street, I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondent until January 18th, 2023, to bring the property into compliance and be returned to a proceeding for a special magistrate on January 24th, 2023, for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Case number 5, RTL 0822-163, Daytona 19 LLC, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 549 Mulberry Street.
Hi, could you state your name, please, on Zoom?
Yeah, my name's Andy Liu.
Okay.
And my name is Wilson Zarilla.
Okay, we can't see you, Mr. Zarillo.
Yeah, for some reason my camera is disabled. I don't know what's going on.
I think it just came on.
No, I
No,
believe
is that-
that's
No, that's
Mr.
me.
Could you state your name, sir? That just came on.
I'm Ralph Kiaya.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, Wilson's had some trouble with his camera for about a week now. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm not too tech savvy, but if this is okay, I'd
good with
be good with presenting.
That's fine. We can hear you, and if you can hear us, I think we're fine.
Okay, if you would raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Yes, I
Thank
did.
you.
Okay. Mr. Mango?
Okay, since the last hearing, I did receive email communication from Mr. Zarilla with photo documentation that the outside storage of junk and debris was removed on October 31st of 2021. This property is still waiting for windows to be installed for units 2 and 3. So I'm requesting to amend to the January cutoff to allow time to have those windows installed and replaced.
Gentlemen, does that work for you?
Yes, it does. We're in the process of that, and I believe by next week we should have the windows in, or within the next 10 days. So we'll be able to file a permit then, where you guys can see it on your end.
Okay, well, I'm pleased to see that every time I hear your matter, you're moving forward at least on something.
Yes, sir.
And hopefully,
Yeah,
eventually you will be done, and we won't be graced with your faces and voices, hopefully at some point.
Unfortunately, not.
Okay, well, therefore, in case number 5, RTL 0822-163, respondent Daytona 19 LLC for property at 549 Mulberry Street. I find the respondents, I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondents until January 18th, 2023 to bring the property into compliance or be returned to a proceeding for a special magistrate on January 24th, 2023 for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Case number 6, RTL 0822-164, Daytona 19 LLC, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 801 South Ridgewood Avenue.
Same respondents.
Gentlemen, you're still sworn, so Ms. Tomengo?
Okay, since the last hearing, I did receive an email from owner, Mr. Zarilla, informing me that the repairs to the stairwell at the exterior were completed. I did check and found that there was a permit that was finalized by the building department for that project on November 15th for the stairs. He also informed me that the tenant from Unit 2 did vacate the property. They have possession of Unit 2 now, and they're in the process of making some other cosmetic repairs, as well as starting to try to get those windows open in that unit. If you recall, there was the life safety issue with the windows being sealed. They just got access to that unit, and they're working to get the windows open in that unit now. So I'm requesting to amend to the January cutoff to allow them time to finish the repairs in Unit 2.
Okay, so the unit that's vacant had the life safety issues?
They all did.
But-
They worked to get those other windows open.
Okay.
We're waiting for tenant in Unit 2 to be evicted. That finally happened. They got possession of that unit, and they're working in that unit now to
Okay, so
get those windows open.
they're making progress?
Yes.
Okay, so, gentlemen, do you have anything to add? Otherwise, we'll continue you till January.
Yep, that works. The tenant finally vacated last week, so we're in the process of
Yeah.
Unit
We're
2.
working on it right now.
Okay. Therefore, in case number 6, RTL 0822-164, respondent being Daytona 19 LLC for property at 801 South Ridgewood Avenue, I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondent until January 18, 2023, or be returned to a hearing before a special magistrate on January 24th, 2023, for consideration fine of up to $1,000 per day. Okay, case number 7, RTL 11-21-234, RE Equity Investment Group LLC and Wani Polino and Daytona 19 LLC, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 505 Fifth Avenue. Okay,
Okay, since the last hearing, I did receive an email on November 11th from Mr. Zarilla stating that the AC units in the windows at Unit 4 have been removed and that there have been windows installed at this unit also. Mr. Zarilla reported that they are in the process of getting that door and door frame permit and work completed for that door at Unit 4. So I'm requesting to amend to the January cutoff to allow the completion of those repairs.
okay,
You indicate that they're in compliance with the additional order for railings?
We had a permit that was finalized, I believe, about 2 months ago for the
Yes.
railings. They did confirm that
So they're
with us.
on-
It was right
Yep.
after the magistrate hearing. I think it was the
Yep.
day after the hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there is a permit on file for windows and doors for this Unit 4 in the back also.
Okay, so we're only
Correct.
waiting for compliance with the completion.
Yep,
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
Sorry.
The windows have been done. We're just gonna be setting up the final inspection with the Department of Buildings, and the door permit was filed, I believe, on yesterday, I believe, or Friday.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
all right. Well, then, in case number 7, RTL 1121-234, respondents being RE Equity Investment Group LLC and Juani Polino and Daytona 19 LLC for property at 505 Fifth Avenue. I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondents until January 18th, 2023 to bring the property into compliance or be returned to a proceeding before a special magistrate on January 24th, 2023 for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. It would be nice to start the new year with these three all being resolved, so
Absolutely.
pleased to see the progress.
Sir, I have one question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So we have right now, Unit 4 vacant as you requested. When we get the front door permitted and it passes inspection, can we go ahead and rent it at that point? Like, when is the point where we can rent it again?
when it passes the inspection, the re-inspection.
Okay,
I guess you'll need to coordinate that with Mr. Mango
perfect.
and you can get
Okay.
that resolved.
Okay,
Understood.
thank you so much.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you,
thanks.
Mr. Mango, and thank you, Mr. Magistrate.
Happy
You're welcome.
Thanksgiving, guys.
Thank
Yeah, happy
you.
too.
Thanksgiving. Safe and happy.
Take care.
All right, good.
Case number 8, RTL 0822-166, Joseph C. and Kimberly M. Talavera, cited for failure to correct violations of City Code at 721 South Grandview Avenue. Is there anyone here on behalf of Joseph or Kimberly Talavera? Mr. Mango, there's no respondent present, so.
Okay, since the last hearing, I did hear from Mr. Talavera by phone and email to inform me that he's completing the last leg of the repairs to the property, showing progress with installing screens at the property, stating he has 14 of 22 screens installed, and he did send photo documentation of that to me. I wasn't able to add the photos to the file because I didn't have access to my computer yesterday. So I'm requesting to amend to the January cutoff to allow completion of those repairs and reinspection of the property.
Okay. Therefore, in case number 8, RTL 0822-166, respondents being Joseph C. and Kimberly M. Talavera for property at 721 South Grandview Avenue. Hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondents until January 18th, 2023 to bring property into compliance or return to a proceeding for the special magistrate on January 24th, 2023 for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Case number 9, RTL 1022-195, Vincent Filippini, cited for failure to correct violations of City Code at 527 Loomis. Is anyone here on behalf of Mr. Filippini? There's no respondent present. Mr. Mango?
Okay, since the last hearing, I did receive contact from the occupant of this property informing me that it's not a rental property. I was trying to coordinate contact with the owner, but was unsuccessful in that attempt. So I'm requesting to amend to next cutoff to allow me time to get in contact with the owner to possibly get a non-rental affidavit and discuss the status of the use of the property with the owner.
Okay. Sounds to me if there's an occupant of the property, there's most likely a rental. So, but if you need to confirm that with the
Right.
owner, it
I
makes
did
things
do some
easier.
internal investigation, didn't find any lease documentation by way of investigation. And again, the communication from the occupant, she's stating that she's not renting. So I would like to confirm that with the owner or speak to the owner about the use of the property.
Okay. Therefore, case number 9, RTL 10-22-195, respondent Vincent Filippini for property at 527 Loomis Avenue. I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondent until January 18th, 2023 to bring property into compliance or be returned to proceeding for a special magistrate on January 24th, 2023 for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Case number 10, RTL 05-22-117, William Glass Morrison III, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 860 Magnolia Avenue. Anyone here on behalf of William Glass Morrison? No? No one present. Mr. Mango?
Okay, since the last hearing, I did receive contact from the property manager, Kim Lazat, regarding a delay in the delivery of the windows for this property due to Hurricane Nicole. She did also send documentation from the window contractor showing that there's a delay in the window order. All of the rental units at this property have passed inspection except for, I believe, Unit 2 where windows are being installed. So I'm requesting to amend to next cutoff to allow the window installations for this property.
All right. Therefore, in case number 10, RTL 05-22-117, respondent William Glass Morrison III at property at 860 Magnolia Avenue. I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondent until January 18th, 2023 to bring property into compliance or be returned to a proceeding before the special magistrate on January 24th, 2023 for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Mr. Mango, do you have any further
Yes,
matters?
The first lien review.
Oh.
And do you have Mr. Cox on Zoom?
Does the city have a problem on taking this out of order?
No, not at all. That would be fine.
And then Mr. Mango, I believe, would be finished with this proceeding.
Yes,
Okay.
that's
So we're going to move quickly to the page 6 of the agenda, lien review 1, RTL 03-2266, 1222 Midway Boulevard, Susan E. Andres Cox, who was cited for failing to, for failures of violations of city code. And she has a current lien against the property in the amount of $15,000 and $15,024. And so at this time, is someone here on behalf of Ms. Cox?
Yes. Mr. Cox, could you state your name, please? Can you hear?
Yes, my name is Michael Cox, and I'm here to represent on behalf of my mother, Susan Cox, who I have power of attorney with.
Right, and I've also provided you guys with an email from the current owner giving him the permission to speak on their behalf.
Yep, got it.
Could you raise your right hand, Mr. Cox? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, I swear.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Mr. Cox, do you want to give me a brief summary of your basis for your appeal of this lien review?
Yes, sir. This is sort of relates to the previous case, CE 2021-0120. My mother owns the house, or I said previously owned the house back a few years ago, and she ended up coming up to take care of my sister who was dying of cancer. She still owned the house. She was essentially renting a room to the tenants, which are the now owners. When she started coming up here, it was when I started helping her sell her house back in November, December of last year. I found out she had a previous lien on the house, so we resolved that this past January. I didn't know with the rental agreement that it was turning into a lien. I did have cases going on since December of last year stating that we're in the process of selling the house. There was an MLS on the house, which we're hoping to sell directly to the owners and just be in a few weeks. It ended up taking 3 months. So the house didn't actually sell till late March. So I was hoping that we get this resolved and everything was closed down. But then looking at the cases, I noticed that the lien went to review with the case because the paperwork wasn't signed. So I'm asking to see if we can get a reduction in the lien amount to $1,000 for just taking up everybody's time on this.
And what was that amount, sir?
It's 1,000.
1,000. Okay. And do you have anything further?
No, that's it, sir.
Okay. Does the city have a response?
I'm in agreement with the reduction to the amount of $1,000. This case did open back in May of 2021. It was confirmed as a rental property by the tenants who were renting at that time, who eventually became the owners. I was able to make contact with those tenants in October and get them to sign a non-rental affidavit stating, that they are not renting the property and it's an owner-occupied property at this point. So I'm in agreement with the reduction to a $1,000
Okay.
fine.
I'm not having a problem with the reduction. As I see it, there was a brief period that the property was being rented before it was sold. And so I think this would be an appropriate way to resolve the matter.
Excellent.
I don't see having the fine run after there's not even a tenant in the house. Now it's owner occupied. So, therefore, being that everyone is in agreement, I hereby order in case number RTL 032266 for property at 1222 Midway Boulevard, respondent being Susan E. Andres Cox, that the lien in that in that matter be reduced to the amount of $1,000, subject to being paid within 30 days, or the fine will revert back to the original amount. That's our standard to make sure that somebody actually pays it and doesn't just walk off and there's an outstanding reduction and a outstanding fine all floating around. And I always add this caveat: if you run into any problem with the payment, please contact the city attorney's office immediately. Don't let it just get, because you've gotten a significant reduction and everybody seems to be in agreement. If something comes up, please let them know.
Sounds good. I appreciate that. And if I can get the payment instructions, just email to myself. I've been in communication with Inspector Tominga and Ms. Barnes a lot, so great communication on their behalf to me, which I highly appreciate. So once I see that, I'll pay it immediately.
Yep, I'll email it to you.
Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. And sir, I appreciate your giving a nice, brief but succinct status of things and stated clearly what it is that you're seeking and why.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Have a great day and enjoy the holidays, everyone.
You too. All right. We will go back to where we left off on the agenda, and we will resume with case number 11, RTL 0822-168, Alan B. Williams and Philip Williams, who are cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 1441 Mississippi Street. I don't see anyone present on behalf of Alan or Philip Williams, so I take it we have no respondent. Mr. Cole?
Since last month's hearing, I have had contact with the owner. Progress is being made, but he still has some work to conclude. I'm recommending to amend to the January cutoff to allow him to effect the repairs.
Okay, well, therefore, in case number 11, RTL 0822-168, respondents being Alan B. Williams and Philip Williams for property at 1441 Mississippi Street. I hereby order the previous order. I find that the respondent who was previously found in, I'm sorry, I need to start back again. I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondent until January 28th or January 18th, 2023 to bring the property into compliance to be returned to a proceeding before a special magistrate on January 24th, 2023, for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Okay, case number 12, RTL 042283, Anthony Ray Teal, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 611 North Street. Mr. Teal, are you present? No, there is no respondent present. Mr. Cole?
Since last month's hearing, I have had contact with Mr. Teal. The front unit is still vacant. I verified that, and he is still effecting repairs on it, so I recommend we amend to the January cutoff.
All right. Therefore, in case number 12, RTL 042283, respondent being Anthony Ray Teal for property at 611 North Street, I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondent until January 18th, 2023, to bring the property into compliance or return to a proceeding before a special magistrate on January 24th, 2023, for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Case number 13, RTL 012217, Kinsey Whaley and South Trust Financial LLC, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 135 North Street. I don't see Mr. Whaley present, or is there anyone here on behalf of South Trust Financial? There are no respondents present, Mr.
I have had contact with Ms. Colleen of South Trust Financial. They have parts for the window, but the tenant is being combative and wouldn't let them in. So I'm recommending we amend to the January cutoff because it's just parts to be put in a window to make it function.
Okay.
So I'm recommending amend to January cutoff.
Case number 13, RTL 012217, respondents being Kinsey Whaley, South Trust Financial LLC for property at 135 North Street. I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondent until January 18th, 2023 to bring property into compliance or be returned to a proceeding before the special magistrate on January 24th, 2023 for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Case number 14, RTL 0922185, New Leaf Real Estate LLC, cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 323 Taylor Avenue. Is anyone here on behalf of New Leaf Real Estate LLC? There is no respondent present. Mr. Cole?
I haven't had contact, but the progress, there's still a site plan under review through planning and zoning for what they're proposing. So I'm recommending an amend to January cutoff to allow them to get through the zoning issues they're trying to get through.
They wouldn't be able to do anything until they get their approvals anyway.
No.
Okay. So therefore, in case number 14, RTL 0922185, respondent being New Leaf Real Estate LLC for property at 323 Taylor Avenue, I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondent until January 18, 2023 to bring property into compliance to be returned to a proceeding before the special magistrate on January 24th, 2023 for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Case number 15 is in compliance. Case number 16, RTL 0822157, Richard Britt Jr., cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 426 Model Street.
Since last month's hearing, I have had contact with the owner. Progress made. I did an inspection on the property yesterday at 11 a.m. They have significant things that need to be corrected. I'm recommending to amend to January cutoff to allow them to work on the problems.
Mr. Cole, if you could pass on to them, though, they're getting a 2-month time period to get things done. So
I left a message with him yesterday. He didn't answer.
Okay. Therefore, case number 16, RTL 0822157, respondent being Richard Britt Jr. for property at 426 Model Street. I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondent until January 18, 2023, bring property into compliance to be returned to a proceeding for a special magistrate on January 24, 2023 for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. Okay, we're going to get now to case number 17, RTL 1022-192. Stanley Smith is cited for failure to correct violations of city code at 858 Pinewood Street. Is there anyone here? Is Mr. Stanley Smith or anyone here on his behalf? There is no respondent present. Mr. Cole.
I have had contact with someone, and a rental application has been applied for. I'm recommending to amend to the January cutoff to allow that to be processed and an inspection get done.
Okay. Therefore, in case number 17, RTL 1022-192, respondent being Stanley Smith for property at 858 Pinewood Street, I hereby order the previous order of noncompliance be amended to allow the respondent until January 18, 2023 to bring property into compliance or be returned to a proceeding for a special magistrate on January 24, 2023 for consideration of a fine of up to $1,000 per day. And we have two matters left before us, and I see, looks like probably two respondents out there. Let's just go down the agenda. Case number 18, RTL 1022-188, David and Lori B. Gigliotti are cited for failure to correct violations of Land Development Code, Article 4, Section 4.1.a, Article 5, Section 5.2.a.2 at 123 Flamingo Avenue.
Hi, Ms. Gigliotti, can you hear me?
I can.
Could you state your name, please?
Lori Borowski Gigliotti.
And do you also have someone with you that's
I
going to
do not.
testify? Okay, I just wanted to check. Raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So Mr. Reckenzone wasn't here when I swore the inspectors in before.
Okay. Mr. Reckenzone, can you provide us with the particulars of this matter?
Yes, sir. The property has been in compliance since October 27th.
If I recall, Mr. Magistrate, we had a question about, I think this person was working on trying to get it in compliance, and so we came back to determine whether or not it was actually everything down. And I think the announcement is that it is, everything is down, so the position of the city is that he's now in compliance. So we're not seeking any sanctions.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Correct.
So are you withdrawing this case? Do you want me to dismiss the case?
I think our desire is just for it to be found in compliance.
Okay.
So, same effect.
All right. Well, then, here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to run it by you first, and I'm going to say, based on the testimony of the inspector, that the property is in compliance, which closes the case out.
That's sufficient. We thank you.
Okay. Well, then, Ms. Gigliotti, I will do this in a more formal manner, but just so because it's on the record. In case number 18, RTL 1022-188, David and Lori B. Gigliotti being the respondents in the property at 123 Flamingo Avenue. I hereby find, based upon the testimony from the inspector, that the property is in compliance. That brings this matter to a close.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. And that leaves us with one final matter. I hope. RTL 01-2220. This is a lien review. 505 Model Street. Juan Manuel Tlaxcuapan Ramirez and Deanna Esther Rodriguez. They were cited for violations of city code. An order imposing a fine lien of $100 per day was imposed. Compliance was ultimately reached, and there's at this time an outstanding amount due in the amount of $5,024. Mr. Ramirez?
Could you state your name, please?
Okay.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to provide is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Ramirez, can you provide a summary of why it is that you would like the city to reduce the fine lien in this matter from $5,000 to $24.
Yes, I am seeking due to a couple inconsistencies around the process with the rental licensing for with this particular address, and due to a hardship on my end as well. Just to give you an overview of what I do, I mean, I have a couple of different properties here in Daytona, I believe a total of 5, and I've gone through the rental inspection through all of them. And this is the only one that I'm really having an issue with, right? So the story starts back in April 13, right? 2021. I applied for 3 licenses, 313 Fulton Street, 505 Model Street, and 1224 Palmetto Avenue, Unit 105. I usually get some type of, contact from an inspector within 30 days to 2 weeks, and we set up an inspection. They advise if I've already gone through the whole list and make sure everything's up to code, and I either say yes or no, and we either put it out for a month, 2 months, whatever the case may be. In this case, I followed up with the city numerous times between the months of May and June, and the follow-up was always, they're going to get in contact with you. I did go through an inspection in May of 2021 at the property at 313 Fulton Street. That was approved and licensed. And then at that point, during that inspection, I usually deal with Inspector Temengo. And I also asked her, I was like, hey, I still have these other 2 properties and I'm waiting to hear something and I haven't heard something. She advised to continue to wait and eventually someone will get in contact with me. I believe that from the information that I've gathered from the city, Inspector Rickenzone took over that property, the 505 Model Street, back in September. And I believe during that time, maybe towards the end of the year, he attempted to get in contact with me. And I believe that he was under or knowing that I had applied for a license back in April. He did send out a notification to my Los Angeles address. I believe from what I've heard from the city is if you don't apply for a license, they use whatever they have on the tax records. Through the application, I have my contact address. All my other properties, when I receive some type of notification, goes to my Daytona address. So at this point, all the information was being sent to an old address out in Los Angeles. Through the end of the year, I believe I'm in awareness now that Inspector Rickenzone attempted to contact me through mail until he finally got a hold of my tenant, and that's when I was notified of a special magistrate hearing that happened. I believe it could have been anywhere between December and January. At this point, I came up here.
I suspect, Mr. Ramirez, that the fine would have been imposed at a February meeting, I believe.
Oh, yes.
Because the order's dated March 6th.
That's where I'm headed. So at this point, we had set up during that special magistrate sometime because I wasn't in town for February. This should have happened sometime in December or January. We came up here, we decided with an inspection date of some date in January. I had to reschedule due to my tenant having COVID. Through the months of October and February, my mom had terminal cancer, so I was in and out of the state in California. On this February 16th and February 18th, I notified the inspector. I provided, airline tickets just to make sure that he understood that I was out in Los Angeles, and not able to, assist him with the rental inspections at the moment. My mom passed away on February 28th. I was back in town on March 14th. I notified him as soon as I was in town through a message, through an email. And at that point, we got the property inspected and passed on April 2022. Following that approval, the third property that I applied for back in April 2021, I finally got some type of response, and we were able to schedule an inspection date for that. So this is a property that I had applied for back in April 2021 and was just receiving some type of notification to get some type of inspection done. So that property at 1224 Palmetto Street finally got approved and inspected on June 2nd, 2022. So at that point, I believe the Model Street address was the only one that was contingent to, or at this point, all of the 3 properties that I had applied for back in April were approved and licensed. In October, so this property, 505 Model Street, has been vacant for about a month or 2 now. I'm selling the property. So I got in contact with June, June Barnes, and she advised me that I didn't have a license in place. That in fact I had a bill due of $15,024. So obviously that brought me to, being very, very, $15,000 is a lot of money to me.
I think it's 5,000.
Yeah.
Can I provide this for you?
Once we had his compliance date, it went down, but originally it had
Yeah.
kept running because compliance wasn't entered into our system.
But until October, my license that I was approved on April 2022 for the property at 505 Model Street was not inputted in your system. So that's why I incurred all these charges up to $15,000.
Well, Mr. Ramirez, I understand the 15,000.
I get it.
But the city has now acknowledged, if I understand it correctly, that it was never 15,000.
Correct. I'm just using that just to kind of prove the
Okay.
inconsistency and how we got to $15,000. And
Okay.
how, something that should have been applied and approved in April wasn't done until Ms. June Barnes looked at the file in October. Which, I mean, when it comes to my business, I mean, I try to keep everything organized so that we avoid stuff
understand.
like this. So at this point, right, we're here in court, and I'm asking that we remove the fees. Due to, obviously, on your end, there was some inconsistencies done. And then on my end, of course, I was out of town due to my mom's cancer situation. So, I waited for you guys from April all the way down to maybe September if Mr. Rinconson would have gotten in contact with me during that time. So that was about 6 months that I didn't hear nothing from you guys. And obviously, we could have gone back and forth, but on my end, I was dealing with being in Los Angeles effective October all the way through, back and forth all the way through February 28th, March 14th, which is when my mom passed away on the 28th of February. So.
Okay. I'm trying to deal with the underlying, what I call just the number first. And I'm seeing the order imposing the fine lien. Oh, did that go back to February 22nd?
Yeah, if you look at the invoice.
Yeah, okay.
It has the start
That's-
date of the lien and when it was ended.
Yeah. Okay. I was just adding a day, so now I understand where the extra days came from. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I'm clear on the particulars.
Okay.
First of all, you don't have, $15,000. We're down to $5,024. And I understand your argument still also pertains to that as well.
Yes.
So, have you had any opportunity to discuss this with
No,
city?
Because we've been displaced, I haven't been able to
Okay,
put them together.
I mean, the communication with Ms. June here has been great.
Right.
We've been back and forth a couple times, but it was more to get here today.
Right.
I'm just saying typically someone seeking a lien review talks with the city and they hopefully work things out beforehand, because I understand your argument. And
From my understanding, the inspection passed in April, and
Right.
it comes to the point where I'm selling the property now.
You-
I reach out to the city, and I find out that I have a $15,000 bill. That's,
Mr. Reckonson,
Yes, sir.
what saith the city?
Due to the issues that have come across and there's troubles, the city is willing to reduce it down to 2,500.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Ramirez, there were, I guess, fundamental issues. The property was not in compliance on the dates in question
Correct.
when I issued the order, so it was not in compliance and had not been in compliance for some time, if I recall.
Correct.
So I can't wipe the slate clean, but I can effectuate a reduction. And Mr. Ramirez, the city has offered to reduce the amount to $2,500. Would that be acceptable to you?
my argument is I was ready back in April of April 21, 2021. And then I get what you mean, right? At that time, February of this year is where this all started. But, you know, my situation is I was ready back in April of 21st. You know, I have a check and where I paid for the license and everything was processed. If the city would have contacted me within 30 days, my inspection would have done. I wasn't in Los Angeles dealing with my mom's situation, and it would have been taken care of.
What I think is that the clock started to run on February 22nd.
Correct.
Okay, and there was $100 each day thereafter. So what you were willing to do in April is really sort of irrelevant to what would have occurred in February. And so we have, if you had been able to bring the property into compliance on February 22nd, if you had,
Well,
I assume, you see, the city sends out notices as provided for by statute, if it's my understanding. I've heard this stated before, and I understand you're in California and all of that, and you may have seen today, I tried to bend over backwards to accommodate people on Zoom, if they send a letter or what have you. And if I take it, your argument really kind of hinges on the fact that you had an address that you couldn't be reached at that time, and therefore were unaware of the fact that the hearings were taking place.
correct.
Okay, but in a way, the city, and I, again, have heard this argument, Mr. Jackson, maybe you want to weigh in on this.
Well, that's exactly it. The city provided the notice as required under the statute, and I appreciate this gentleman's response that he felt that we should have known where he was because of his other cases. But even so, I think the failure was that there was a concern or disappointment that the city had not taken action when he thought the city should have taken action. As he indicated, when 6 months he feels before he got a response. And so he initiated without the final outcome, which was an approval. And that's not the way you resolve what appears to be non-responsiveness. We're physically here, the city was here, the city wasn't shut down, and we had the availability of Zoom for these type of proceedings, but we had also the city offices and every means to come into the city and determine what the delays were and try and work that out before he started renting, regardless of the fact that he did not have the license.
Would I be correct, he could also have called from California?
Yes, and he sounds like a well-sophisticated and well-understanding businessman in the sense of the way he's running his business. And so I think with that understanding, it would have been a little bit more diligent to have followed up and not really be surprised that a fine actually went into place when he never actually got any notification of an approved rental license. And so he didn't get the approval of a license. He started renting anyway. We're sympathetic to the things he's saying, especially, the circumstance and having to deal with his mom. So we're sympathetic to that, and we believe that it didn't run very long. It only accrued to $5,000. We're willing to agree to the reduction of $2,500, or at least that's our recommendation to the magistrate.
And I completely agree with your statement, but I still have a property that I applied for in April of 2021, which is 1224 South Palmetto Street, that I just received communication on this May, and was informed from the inspector of running that through an inspection. So why isn't that property under the magistrate?
Totally irrelevant to what we're trying to determine today.
And I completely get it. I look at it as I apply for the license, I wait 30 days, and I should receive some type of call from the city. And if I attempt to get in contact with you guys, and all I'm getting is, don't worry, someone's going to contact you. Don't worry, and at some point you're just okay. So that's.
I appreciate your frustration in that. Right.
And it's
that's business. And so ideally,
correct.
You kind of make the actual physical contact, which you're making now, and it's hard to do when you're traveling and those types of things. Understood.
And the property should have always, if we would have gotten an inspector out there sometime after 30 days of when we applied for the license, the property has always been in compliance. All of my properties are in compliance. It's just we didn't contact and I get it, right? Would you guys be willing to come down to like $1,000?
That's really the staff's. I think they came with a position recognizing, first of all, that it was a non-compliance, and $5,000 itself was reasonable. But they're asking for 50%. I don't know. I'll leave it to staff if they want to do anything other than that. position, so I'll look this way.
We've made our recommendation.
So we'll leave it to the magistrate.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm trying to balance and weigh all these factors, sir. I tend to take each matter based on the particulars of that matter. And if I understand your argument is that you had another property that you had been told that you could be waiting on, and you inferred that you could do the same thing with this one. That was sort of is that the argument that you were sort of making?
So back in April 2021, I applied for three rental inspection licenses,
Right.
right? So Fulton, Model Street, and 1224. Within 30
April of 21, you applied for 3 rentals.
Yes.
It was Model Street, one of them?
One of them was Model Street, another one was Fulton Street, 313 Fulton Street, and then 1224 South Palmetto.
Okay.
Fulton Street was inspected and approved within 2 months. Inspector Tomengo took care of that. Model Street, I explained the situation, and 1224 South Palmetto, Inspector Tomengo contacted me, I want to say sometime in May of this year, to get that application that was applied for back in April resolved.
Okay.
So that process there of her being able to reach out to me and get in contact with me and get that inspected did not follow the same process that we followed here for the Model Street one.
Well,
So
who was the inspector on the Model Street one?
Mr. Renconzone,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, Mr. Reckenzone is not Ms. Tomengo.
Obviously, yes, but for the other 2 properties, Ms. Tomengo did the other two properties, which is 313 Fulton Street and 122 South Palmetto. So she handled those 2 properties, and Mr. Renconzone handled 505 Model Street.
That's correct. But you were sort of, if I infer, were getting sort of a special consideration on one that you were told that you could take additional time or whatever. But if Mr. Reckenzone is handling it, then Mr. Reckenzone is the one who makes that call, not Miss. You can't infer one inspector's comments to another one. And that's where the problem seems to arise.
Yeah, there also is some additional information that's in your folder, Mr. Magistrate, and that's in the hearing in January. When we were scheduled for hearing in January, Mr. Ramirez was present at that proceeding, and it says that Inspector Reckenzone stated that this is unlicensed rental property, stated the respondent has applied for the license and had a rental inspection scheduled in January, but was rescheduled due to tenant's medical issues. He stated he is asking for a finding of noncompliance and next cutoff. Mr. Ramirez stated he was okay with it. That's what the minutes.
Yeah, and with that too, as I do when I issue an order, I also indicate the date of the next hearing.
Right, and it's
and no response was forthcoming for that next hearing.
That's correct.
And so, taking all of this into effect, I believe that, from my standpoint, that I think the city doesn't have to make a reduction, but has offered a reduction to the amount of $2,500, and that is the amount that I am going to reduce this fine to. Okay, therefore, in RTL 01-2220, a respondent being Juan Manuel Ramirez and Diana Esther Rodriguez for property at 505 Model Street, hereby order the lien in that case be reduced to the amount of $2,500, subject to being paid within 30 days, or the fine will revert back to the original amount. And as I indicated before, if you run into a problem in making a payment, that you contact the city attorney's office immediately.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, Ms. Barnes, will you be reaching out to me to
Yeah,
get this payment?
I'll send you an email with the invoice once he signs everything.
Thank you for your time, guys.
Thanks.
you.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. Okay, are there any miscellaneous business or other business? that
Happy
we-
Thanksgiving,
Happy
everybody.
Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and see you next year.
Yeah, exactly.
all of
New
those
Year
holidays,
and
Thanksgiving,
any other ones in
Christmas,
between that you
New
celebrate.
Year's, and all of that.
If you celebrate Kwanzaa, happy Kwanzaa. If you celebrate any of the other ones,
Mm-hmm.
what else we have? Yom Kippur. No,
That's
we
it.
I
had
think
that.
that's
What we
about
had?
it.
So it being 10:12,
Groundhog Day.
Don't leave it Hanukkah.
no, we'll be meeting before Groundhog Day.
That's true, we will.
So therefore, it being 10:12, I call this session of the special magistrate proceeding for November 22nd, 2022 to be adjourned.